So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could Xtra whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the track Xtra. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6:30 on a Wednesday evening. My name's Jon and I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and once again it's time for an episode of On the Track Xtra. What's On the Track Xtra, I hear you ask? Well, first we have to explain what On the Track is. On the Track for over 10 years now, in fact something like 16 years, has been bringing you regular shows about hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What's surreality? Well, better ask the cat, I think, because she seems to be the most sensible person in the room.
Surreality is a juxtaposition of unexpected objects to bring the sheer peculiarity of life up into bas relief.
However, the cat, being asleep once again on Richard, who's over there, being languid, wave to the boys and girls, Richie. See, he's being very languid. Richard's here for a whole month because Graham Inglis, who usually looks after me, who's the deputy director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, my carer and one of my oldest friends, is in America visiting his friends in Arizona and in Oregon. So, in that time, he's been replaced by my other dear sweet friend who I love dearly, Richard Freeman, who's the zoological director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology. And I've totally got off the track because On the Track is a show which comes out for about half an hour on Saturday afternoons at 3. And On the Track Xtra is something which happens for about half that on Wednesday. Why am I saying Friday? Because I'm an idiot. Wednesday evenings at 6:30, and this is one of those. Those of you who are regular viewers of this and our sister show on Saturday afternoons will know that last Saturday we brought you a very interesting presentation from Ian Squibbs, who told the story of the Pensacola sea serpent. Now, when he'd finished, I asked him a few questions. So, what do you think happened?
Well, I suppose it is possible that a seamer killed McCleary's friends, but they could simply have drowned also, and McCleary made the whole thing up. We will never know. But what do you think happened, Jon? Do you think that we've got killer sea serpents out there attacking boats of youths?
Well, it'd be great if there were. Not very great for the youths, but it would be fantastic if there were. But I'm afraid I tend to agree that it's a hypothermia-induced hallucination or survivor's guilt PTSD. There's nothing else there's no other stories like it in the region which sort of corroborate it, are there?
There's not, and I don't think really there's been killer sea serpents. Has there? I'm not sure. No, I can't think of any. So other creatures do kill people, though, sharks, for example. But yeah, I don't think myself far-fetched. But it's just a Fortean classic. We're never going to know the truth. We just have to review and enjoy the story.
Richard and I enjoyed Ian's presentation very much indeed, but Richard takes an opposite view to me and Ian. He believes there's more to the story than meets the eye. He should know. He's an expert. Okay, Richard. Why do you believe that these tragic deaths could be the result of an attack by a sea serpent?
There are several reasons why I believe this. Now, when you've listened to or read a lot of Fortean accounts, it's something hard to put into words. You get a sort of feel for ones that have a ring of truth about them and ones that sound made up. And I've always thought this one had a ring of truth about it. Now, we know that one of the kids drowned, but what happened to the other three? Now, McCleary says that he saw this thing actually grab one of them. Now, in two cases, he saw people or heard people being jerked under the water, pulled under the water by something. But in one, he said this great serpentine thing came up, opened its mouth and came down on top of one of these guys, one of his friends. Now, if he was making this up, there are certain little quirks in it that I don't think he would have thought of. Like the noise the animal makes, you'd have had it hissing or roaring or something like that, but he said it was making this weird high-pitched whining sound, which you wouldn't necessarily associate with a sea serpent. And if this was a terrible accident at sea and his friends had been drowned, I don't think he'd make up this cock and bull story about them being eaten by a sea serpent and stick to his guns right till the time that he died. I just don't think he would. It's a bit like Vorry Irving with Jeff the Talking Mongoose. Right until the time she died, she swore blind that this strange little creature was in the house, and she wished it had never come because it ruined her life. Now, the idea that this might have been a baleen whale, I don't think that works as well. Now, there are some sea serpent sightings which I think are perfectly explicable by misinterpretation of baleen whales. The famous Daedalus sighting in Victorian times, which Dr. Richard Owen came up with the most outrageous and unlikely things to try and explain it away. And I always thought that that was a genuine sighting until someone suggested that it was a skim-feeding sea whale. And sea whales are related to fin whales and blue whales. They're the rorqual baleen whales. And one of the things that they do, that they will skim across the surface of the sea with their upper lip curled up in sort of this position and swim through clouds of krill and plankton and stuff. And I've never seen a picture of one doing this, but a picture of one taken from the right angle is a dead ringer for the Daedalus sea serpent. Dead ringer. And I can't remember who came up with this. I thought it was Darren Naish, but apparently it wasn't. It was somebody else. It's a dead ringer for the Daedalus sea serpent, and I think they've hit the nail on the head. But with this, it's completely different. They saw the head and neck rear up out of the water and move from side to side. They said it looked like a lamppost with a light bulb shape at the top, which was the head. And when he saw it clearly, he described the head as being like that of a turtle, but longer. So it was definitely reptilian, and it had this large eye. If you look at his sketch of it, the mouth goes past the eye. So if you've got the eye there, the mouth goes past the eye, which is usually an indication of something reptilian. So long-necked sea serpents, they've been reported all over the world since the times of ancient Mesopotamia. There are two main types of sea serpent. In the past, people have made lots of categories for sea serpents that are quite dubious, but they fall into two main types. There's the many-humped, which has the shorter neck and a flexible body that goes up and down in humps thus. And you have the long-necked, which has a great long neck and a more barrel-shaped body. I don't think it's a plesiosaur or a descendant of a plesiosaur. I think it's a type of animal we know nothing about that is superficially like a plesiosaur in that it has a long neck. We know that plesiosaurs couldn't raise their necks up like that either because of the spines on the vertebrae. They were too long, so they couldn't flex like that. They had very long necks that were quite inflexible except for the last few feet, and we think what they did was swim up behind shoals of fishes and then raise the long neck up into the shoal of fish, and the small head would look like another fish to the other fish, and then they'd make sideways movements to snap at the fish and grab them from within the shoal. So the flexibility is totally different from a plesiosaur. So it's not a plesiosaur, whatever it is. But I think these events took place, and there are other accounts of lake monsters killing people. Now, I've heard of sea serpents attacking ships and boats. I've never heard of another one killing people in a marine environment, but in freshwater, there's a number of cases of sea serpent, of lake monsters attacking people. For example, Lake Chany in Siberia, where something like 14 people have been killed by some serpentine animal that's in that lake since the past couple of decades. At least 14 people have been taken by it, according to the people who live around it, and there's never been a proper investigation into it. There was a case from the 18th century in Wales when someone was swimming across a lake in Wales when one of these things came up, wound around him, bit into him and dragged him down. And it sounds like an immense eel. That particular one sounds like a huge eel. So these things do happen. So for my money, the Edward Brian McCleary case is real. I think one of them drowned. The other three were killed and possibly eaten by some sort of marine animal. And if you've got a big carnivorous animal, even if it feeds mainly on fish, and you're in the water with it, there's going to be some kind of danger. Things that don't generally attack humans sometimes do, like leopard seals and walruses and things we don't generally associate with killing people. Sometimes they do in an opportunistic manner. So this is what I think happened there.
Well, Ian's already said this, but it does bear repeating. None of us are ever going to know for sure what happened to those boys back in 1961. I'm sitting on the fence because I think that both Richard and Ian present compelling arguments for their particular point of view, and I am so convinced by both of them that I think that either of them could be the truth of what happened in those events. But we're going to carry on going through these classic bits of Forteana because I think it's important that we re-examine things that have gone into the canon of Fortean belief and really haven't been examined as closely as perhaps they should have been. I'm going to be back on Saturday, and on Saturday we've got the second part of Ronan Coughlan's talk about leprechauns. And what else is going to be on there? You know what? I'll let you into a secret. I haven't a bloody clue because Richard and I haven't worked out what we're going to be doing yet. But I can tell you something. We will be doing something. And so, are you all listening? Especially you, McCrinnan. Because if you're going to be watching and I'm going to be there doing whatever I do, talking to you in the live chat, then it's undoubted that